Hey, good evening. I'm going to be talking to you tonight about build automation and how we play every change on Steam just 2 minutes after it's made. If that sounds like it might be really technical to you and maybe too intimidating and you don't think you can do it, you're my target audience for this talk, so don't fall asleep just yet. And lastly, before I get started, if at any point during this talk you feel like, hey, maybe I can actually do this, or I can see how this would really benefit my team and I want to try and get this working, this QR code is hopefully big enough to scan. The one in the top left will be on every slide, or there's a big one there, or you can go to that bit.ly short link. And after we're done here, that link will also be available on the website in the talk description, so you can get the stuff I'll talk about in this talk afterwards. All right, so let's get started. I asked our lovely designer over there for some quotes about what life was like before build automation and afterwards. So if any of these sound familiar to you, hours of needless work, stress, and uncertainty, you find one issue and the entire build process has to be repeated from scratch, or we just didn't bother making an updated build, it was too painful, we just went with an older one. If any of that sounds familiar to you, you might benefit from build automation. And afterwards, I never have to think about builds anymore. I push a change, it's ready for playtesting. And this is super important to me because it emphasizes that while I save a lot of time not needing to be the one to make the builds, it benefits everyone on the team from being able to do all of their work and test their changes faster as well. So yeah, who is this talk for? If you have done build automation before, hopefully by the end of this you'll be convinced that it doesn't have to break the bank, you can do it on the cheap, and it doesn't have to be complex and time consuming to maintain if, like me in the past, you've had to manage like Jenkins or TeamCity or whatever and it's almost a full-time job. It can be simpler. And if build automation sounds intimidating to you, or you haven't done it before, or you don't consider yourself a very technical person, it can be cheaper and simpler than you might think. It's now easier and more accessible than it's ever been before. And I think there's no project or team too small or big that can benefit from it. And you're also never too early or too late to start. So whether you're still in pre-alpha, you can start benefiting from it, or even if you've already launched your game into 1.0 and you did that without any build automation, but you still want to make updates, you can still add build automation after that. So, what do you need to get started? A spare computer, anything relatively modern. If you can install like Windows 10 or 11 on it, it's probably good enough to get started. And at least for my samples that you can download, your project hosted on GitHub, but GitLab and Bitbucket also have equivalent things you can use. And that's it. If you have those two things, or easy for you to get, you can start experimenting with build automation. And the ongoing costs of running it, if you don't have an unlimited data plan on your internet, or if you pay for your electricity, you're not like in an office where that's covered or whatever, then you have to pay for those, the extra cost of running an extra computer. So I did some math on this and it'll probably be a couple of dollars a month for the electricity. And that's it. There's no additional like subscription fees or services that you have to pay for. Okay, so how's it going to work? So we're going to utilize a build automation framework that is built into our repo host. So again, my examples are going to use GitHub Actions, but if you're on GitLab, they have CI/CD. If you're on Bitbucket, they have pipelines. They're all pretty much the same kind of fundamental thing, and it's easy to convert between them. They have like migration guides in their documentation if you want to move between them, or take my GitHub Actions examples and try and get them working in GitLab CI/CD. You can check out their guide for moving from GitHub Actions to GitLab CI/CD. And the way you activate it with when you're on one of these hosts, like when you're on GitHub, your project is already on GitHub, you just have to place a build script or a workflow file, I think GitHub will usually refer to it as, in your repo. And then once you've done that, basically this third step is what will now happen in your repo. Each time you make a push to your version control, that build automation framework from the first step will leap into action thanks to the build script, and it will run the build script on a runner. So what is a runner? So we're going to need these two things: a build script that does what we want. So maybe you want to make a Unity build, deploy it to Steam, do some other things, and we're going to need a runner. And a runner is just a computer that has been set up to let the build automation control it, and that's what that spare computer is for. So to set up your runner, so your spare computer can be a runner, you just follow the guide that's provided by each of the providers. That's what the page looks like. That's a hot link to it. and you want to look for, might be called something slightly different in each of them, but GitHub calls them self-hosted runners. That's you basically saying, I know that you have like your virtualized instances in the cloud that are either really small and basic and not great for games, or I can pay you money for your bigger ones. No, thank you. I have a spare computer. I'm going to use that instead. And that's how you get away with not paying a cent for it. And following that guide is pretty much just a few minutes of, it'll just tell you like run this console command and this one, and there's like 5 or 6 of them. You just copy one after the other, paste them in, run them, make sure that they say that they're good, or if they ask for an extra step or whatever, or that they want your permission to do something, you say yes, and then you're done. So anyone who's ever like copied a console command from say a Stack Overflow question or from a friend and then run it in their console before, you have the skills to do this. Okay, so that's our runner. What about our build script? I've made some examples available again at that QR code. They're Creative Commons licensed, so they're free for you to use, learn from, remix, whatever you want to do. And that link will also take you to like more kind of troubleshooting guides and explanations of some of this stuff. But the simplest build script in that example, and the simplest one that gets you like the full pipeline where you can, as the quote from before said, push a change and then it's available to play in a build on Steam, just has to do 4 things. Check out the project on your, this is again on your runner or your spare computer. Check out the project, open the Unity editor and make a build, copy that build to the Steam SDK's upload folder, and then use the Steam SDK to upload that build. Not that hard, and honestly, this gets you like 99% of the functionality and the benefit from doing this, and once you've got this running, adding anything else on top of that you want is a piece of cake. And so I wanted to show, don't worry if this is intimidating, this is the entire simplest example build script. I was very happy to discover that I can fit it on a single slide, so I wanted to show that it's actually not that much, and importantly, this version of it has no comments in it, but the version in my examples I have liberally commented, so it'll take you through kind of not just what every line does, but what every bit of every line does, and hopefully in the simplest language I could think of. So, and once you kind of have an idea of how that works, and you've got maybe the simplest version of it running, you can then begin experimenting and try changing stuff. Okay, so why do we love this? Why is it so useful for us to have this? So we're currently making a high-fidelity FPS. The project is over 20 gigs in size, and all of our builds are bigger than 3 gigs, so lots of data to move around if we're doing that manually. We're currently automating Windows, Mac, and Linux builds using this process. They get deployed straight to Steam and straight to a Steam beta branch as well, so no additional faffing about in the Steamworks UI to set that build live. All 3 of those builds, Windows, Mac, and Linux, take less than 3 minutes to build and deploy to Steam. We can do this an unlimited number of times for no additional cost. Sometimes we deploy 20 or more builds a day. Again, it just gets triggered off you pushing to version control, so however many pushes you make or commits you make in a day, you might get that many builds, and you can then test every little change and just keep that process going. And it's effectively 0 cost, so there's no additional human actions involved to do this. You already need to push your changes to version control anyway. That's all you need to do to actually make the rest of it happen. And no service fees, a couple of dollars a month in electricity. And then we utilize lots of bonus features as well, which are easy for you to customize and add on as you want to suit your exact needs. So some examples would be Discord notifications. You can put extra information in those, run automated tests as well. There was a talk previously on addressables. If you want to do like your asset bundling or your addressables bundling, you can do that stuff as extra features as part of your pipeline as well. So again, those panes from the before and the after, that's all it takes to get rid of those top 3, never have to feel those again, and start feeling that bottom one. If that sounds pretty good, then what are you waiting for? You can have a look at my examples, or also recommend the GitHub Actions Getting Started guide if you want to get a bit better of an understanding of like what is actually GitHub Actions, what am I using here. And then equivalent, if you're on a different host as well that I mentioned before, just keep in mind we want to look for self-hosted runners. That's how we make this no cost. And yeah, same in those talk notes at the QR code, tips, tricks, troubleshooting. And for a couple of hours, a pinch of electricity, a little curiosity, you could never have to make or deploy a manual build ever again. And if you have any questions about this as well, feel free to come find me afterwards. because that's how we automate. Thank you very much.